Well, good morning everybody, welcome back to Shutters and Speed. You join me on this lovely cool Sunday morning before the heat sets in for the day. I'm taking a little ride up to the coast to see what the sea looks like. I'm hoping that everything will be okay and that the crowds will be quite minimal at this time of the morning. So I'm just going out there for a quick visit and then make my way back before everything gets too busy. I'm expecting it obviously to be very busy today. But I just fancied having a look at the sea, so we're going to have a look and see how we get on. We're going to go to Hunstanton, or Sunny Honey as we call it here in Norfolk, from my hometown here in Downham Market, and we're going to take a slightly picturesque route. And along the way we're hopefully going to have a look at some interesting bits and bobs. So we'll join you in a minute. So we're making our way now down towards one of the quirkiest junctions in Norfolk probably. It's a bit of a dog leg with a pub stuck right on it, and there's an awful lot of freight traffic use this junction that we're now approaching. Hundreds of lorries use this route as they make their way to the Whissington sugar beet factory, which is off to my right, and they all have to come through this junction. Excuse me. And so it's quite a busy junction from sort of mid-September to mid-March, so through the Christmas period. So I suppose, I mean, I'm not out riding much at that time of the year, so I suppose it doesn't affect me much, but it is a very sort of one that you have to take with very great care. We're now approaching it now. You can probably hopefully pick up the pub in the background there. Yeah, here we go. So we're down to 50 miles an hour. I've got a fairly good lighting array on the front here, so hopefully anything that's coming out will be able to see me. I'm not expecting much at this time of the morning, but of course you never know, and it's all fairly clear. But this junction is really, you know, when you consider how much freight traffic that goes through there, it's really quite an awkward one. We're now coming up to a series of bends which are quite nice. The speed limit here is at 50 miles an hour, so we're keeping it at roughly that. But I'm just going to swing through here nice and easy. Keeping out to the left to get a good view around the next right-hander. Off we go. Yeah, it's a lovely misty sunny morning, nice and cool, so it's a beautiful time to be out on the bike, I feel. And hope you're enjoying the ride. Just taking a central position here to sort of extend my view around this slight left-hander. The position is fine because there's no oncoming traffic, there's no following traffic either. Going a bit quicker than we perhaps should. Coming into a 40 mile an hour speed limit, so killing the speed, and we hit 43 or so at the entrance. Taking up the drive, take another gear and get up to 40. This little petrol station coming up here on the right is one I like. It's a bit quirky, a really nice old chap that runs that, and we always have a chat about motorbikes and so forth whenever I fill up there. We're now coming into the village of Fincham, dropping down to 30, taking another gear and taking up the drive and resuming progress. Just gently steering my way through these bends. Often round the corner here there's like a ladies' hairdresser shop, and there's often cars parked on my side of the road, but of course on a Sunday morning there's not going to be a problem, I hope. Everything, as you might imagine, is really quiet at about 6 o'clock or so on the Sunday morning. So we're heading through Fincham village, not a typical sort of Norfolk type of village with the various types of buildings. Oh, there's a motorcyclist doing the same as I am. How do you do, sir? Very nice. Accelerating up to 40. Another series of bends coming up. I know it's we'll probably just screw it on a bit through here. out of these bends and along this straight bit of road. Beautiful, absolutely wonderful. What a joy. Just easing off for a little while. Keeping a left-hand position over this crest. You never know what's coming up over the hill, even at this time of the morning. Now over to our left, as we come over this hill and start to head down, RAF Marham comes into view. It's a bit misty this morning, so we can't see it that well. But this is the home of the Dambuster Squadron, the F-35 Lightning, which is the latest addition to the RAF's fleet, and they are based here. There may well be, if things work out okay, a picture of one come up here somewhere for you to have a look at. I took some pictures of them not long after they arrived, and just up the road here is where they actually land, because they come across this road onto the runway, so that was quite a sight to see. And also last year, when the Tornadoes made their final flights, most of their flights were made from here where they were based, and the emotion that was sort of felt by these really hardcore aviation enthusiasts who came from all over the country to park. I mean, this area here, for example, was packed with cars, and they, towards the end of the time that they had flying, they did a really great flying formation in the diamond. Another picture of that hopefully will appear here. And then after that there was another flight with just one single aircraft. I believe it was the last airworthy Tornado they had available, and it done a bit of a circuit around the airbase and then landed for the last time. And I can remember seeing ladies who travelled some distance to see this, and they were in absolute tears. You know, the emotion just poured out of them. So much did they sort of care for the you know, for the aircraft and what it had done for us as a country. So that was quite a poignant moment. The F-35s at the moment are not here. They are sunning themselves on one of Queen Elizabeth's yachts off the south coast, practicing their takeoff and landing and etc. From the new aircraft carrier. So we aren't likely to see anything happening here today. Now we're going to take a left here. Having checked the mirrors, bringing the speed down obviously, and in we go. Kill the indicator and off we go. Beautiful. Now there's a very interesting and funny story I can always remember from my childhood days when we used to come to the village of Narborough, which is coming up in about 2 or 3 miles or so, and I used to come along this road many times in my in my teens, on my 250LC Yamaha. What a bike that was. I reckon I did about 30 to 35,000 miles on that in about 2 years, and most of it was coming along here. I would meet up with mates in the village here, and we would go off and do our thing. But one of the funniest stories I can ever remember coming along here was when a friend of mine who used to come with us, I mean, bearing in mind we were all on 250s and he was on a little 50 Yamaha Fizzy, and he was a bit of a wheeler dealer and still is, and we used to go to Swaffham on a Saturday to the market. There was a big auction market there on a Saturday, and he used to buy up all sorts of junk. And one day he found this set of Colonel Bogey air horns, and he thought that would be brilliant fun to attach them to his Fizzy. So we went back to base, as it were, and attempted to attach these things. He had big these sort of outrigging sort of engine bars on his bike, and he distributed those evenly around the bike, and then connected it up and tried it. And of course, obviously, because the Fizzy was only a 6-volt electrical system, it sort of went, barely turned the motor over. So we came up with this idea of sticking a 12-volt battery in his top box and wiring it in so that it would work. We had to wire a separate switch on his handlebar, and off he went. And we was coming along this very road. He was well behind us, obviously, because we were on 250. So we thought we would get ahead of him and get parked up so that we could enjoy the spectacle. So at this point we were coming along this road here, or he was, and we could hear him coming into the village. And just up ahead is a sort of bus shelter where we all used to congregate. And I would say we would be parked up and waiting for him to come, and he'd be sort of purling through the village here at a sort of fairly slowish rate. And at some point, about now, he gave it full blast, and they ricocheted all up, the sound ricocheted everywhere, and he thought he was the coolest fella in town. And we were all at that bus shelter over there, watching him arrive, and that was one of the funniest things I've seen. It sounds simple, I know, but boy, that was fun. Now we're on the old, what was the old A47 before they built the bypass that goes along from left to right for just up ahead here. All the traffic that used to come from the Midlands and the north used to have to make its way through here to Norwich and Great Yarmouth. So, and it wasn't, it's obviously in my memory that this road was built, and very often during the summer months traffic would be queued right back to here trying to get through Swaffham, and ice cream vans would park up in these garages and so forth to keep the people happy. Now we're now coming up to the A47 bypass. Now this is a give way, but I always stop here because the view to the right is appalling, and I always think the safest thing to do is to actually stop rather than try and do the old early observation thing and go straight out. You know, you can't really see anything at all, not until you get to the white line. So safety is always paramount, of course. So I'm just going to have a quick look. Everything seems fine. I mean, it is a quiet morning, but one can't take any risks. So we're now on the A47 proper, and we're going to be. Ooh, you soon came up behind me. Right. I'm going to indicate left here, and we're going to make our way off the A47 now onto the B1153 towards Gayton. Now this is another poignant road for me. I can remember in my childhood days cycling along this road many times. But it's a road that needs to be treated with respect. It's a bit bumpy, although there are some quite nice bends. Now as we approach this sharp left-hander, you will see on the sign, I hope you'll see as we come up, it says Westacre 2 1/4 miles. Now keep that in mind because there's an interesting story regarding the royal family. We're now coming into a village called East Walton. Quiet West Norfolk village, nothing much ever happens. But interestingly enough, our third in line to the throne, young Prince George, spent his first day at school in the village of East Walton. He went to a school by the name of Westacre Montessori, which was in East Walton, which really put the cat among the pigeons. It's just down there somewhere. And on the day when he started school, the journos from London were all flirting around here trying to find where Westacre Montessori was. So they went around the village of Westacre trying to find it. And all the locals, being sort of Norfolk people, were saying all sorts of funny things like, Well, I ain't been to school here for many a year, boy, and all that kind of stuff. So they never actually found him, which was really great. Because I must say, during this current period, I am very much an anti-journo. I've got very much an anti-journo stance. So anything that gets in the way of them poking their noses in is all right with me. So I thought that was a very funny thing to happen. So they never actually got to cover him attending his first day at school. Bless him. Now the next point along the way on this route, we're coming up very shortly to the village of Gayton. Now Gayton is a village very close to my heart because that was where I was born and initially brought up. One of the other sort of prominent vloggers on YouTube, a chap called Mr. Flyer, he's actually come through here. Not on this road. I shall show you where that was when we get there. We've got a series of bends to take to before we get to the actual village. So, you know, that he came through here on his way to Hunstanton. So quite which route he took, I don't know, but I'll show you that in a second. So yes, I was born and spent my initial years in this village, which we're now approaching, and I have very fond and happy memories of this place. My grandmother lived here until fairly recently, but unfortunately she passed away a few years ago, so I have no actual family connection with the village anymore. Yeah, so the Hunstanton Flyer, we're going to go straight over this crossroads, but he came from right to left through here. I can remember watching that video. Mister's a bit steamed up, so we'll have to stop and have a good look. Okay. So we're good to go, and we're going left. Oh, right, sorry. So, taking it fairly easy through here. So we're now approaching the village of Grimston. My grandmother's side of the family were born here, and indeed my grandparents on my father's side are buried in Grimston Church, which is just around the corner here. This road has been nicely resurfaced by the looks of it, so we can go into here reasonably confidently. Oh no, we can't. There's always a bit of gravel on this corner. Be a bit careful. Yeah, so you can see the church up on the ahead of us in the 1 o'clock position. Very quiet little village. Little school, which I think is still operating actually, on the right there, and a tootle through the village. Coming through these quiet Norfolk roads like this at this time of the morning, there's always a plethora of wildlife that could get in your way, pheasants, foxes and all sorts of stuff, so always have to be a bit mindful of that, but you can still. So we're approaching the A148 now in the village of Hillington. This is the road you would probably come along if you came from the north or the Midlands and you were heading towards Cromer. You'd probably come from left to right along here. Very popular tourist route here in Norfolk. And of course, as you head up towards Cromer, there's offshoots to just about all of the North Norfolk coast, which has become a very popular place for people to visit. Rather nice hotel and restaurant to my right here, the Folks' Arms. Been there a time or two and enjoyed a nice meal. So we're heading back towards King's Lynn at the moment. We're now going to take a left turn, a right turn, and we're going to head through to Dersingham, which will actually take us through the heart of the Sandringham estate and past one or two points of interest. So we'll have a look at that as we go about our business. Just round the corner here to the on the left, you've got the open parkland, which is sort of a feature of the Sandringham estate. Sheep out there grazing at the moment. Tree-lined roads. You're now sort of coming into the area. Metal fences. All very pleasant. Take a left to the on that crossroads there, you would go into West Newton, which would take you to the entrance to a massive field on our left hand side. We can just get a glimpse of it there where all the sheep are, hopefully, and that's where all the big events that Sandringham holds throughout the year. Obviously not this year because of the lockdown, but they have craft fairs, concerts and all sorts of events on that very field. We're now coming into the sort of the buildings of the Sandringham estate. The Sandringham house is off to our left. Just going to straighten this a bit. And as we go through here and round to the left, we're going to come across quite a landmark part of the Sandringham estate, which is the gates, the Norwich gates. Many people have taken photographs of this, and in fact, because everything's quite quiet, I might actually stop and grab a snap with my phone of my bike in front of the gates. I've never done that before, but I think I might do that this morning. So you'll join me later, so just stay tuned. Yeah, there we go. Look at that, look. Wow. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop here, grab a quick snap. Join me later. Well, we just stopped to take a snap there. If things turned out okay, that will appear here somewhere. And that was quite good. I've never done that before. I've been by there so many times and never bothered to stop. Sometimes I'm coming through here during the course of the middle of the day maybe, and there's always a risk that the police will come and move you along. But that's all very, very good. Quite pleased with that. So we're now making our way into the village of Dersingham. Another little funny story for you, I suppose. Way back in the early 80s, my wife and I used to go to ballroom dancing classes, and we met up with a really nice couple who used to live in Dersingham here, and he was a coalman, and he was telling me the story about how he was delivering coal to a well-to-do lady here in the village of Dersingham, and there he was struggling around the paths of the bungalow with a 50-kilo sack of coal on his back. And as he turned the corner, who should be there but the Queen Mother? So that was quite a moment for him. And she was absolutely brilliant with him. He didn't know quite what to do, and she told him not to be silly and, you know, get about his business. And he dumped the coal and had a 5-minute chat with her. One of the most memorable moments of his life thus far, I can remember him saying, which is great. And the royal family, I do think, seem to have a very good rapport with everybody around here, and I always feel that the locals are quite protective of them. As I mentioned earlier about Prince George, the chances are that the locals knew that he was going to be going to that school, and they were protecting their privacy from the prying media by not giving them any information at all. And I think that's one of the reasons why. I mean, I think Prince Philip, for example, he He spends most of his time in this area now. He had one unfortunate incident recently with somebody who caused an accident on the main road to Hunstanton from King's Lynn, but on the whole they are sort of, you know, well regarded and are sort of looked after like neighbours, as it were. Yeah, so we're making our way through Dersingham village. Now this used to be the main road from King's Lynn to Hunstanton, so you know Hunstanton is a very popular resort here on the Norfolk coast, and you know all the traffic heading for there, and indeed the sort of northwest corner of the North Norfolk coast would come through here, which was quite tight at times during the summer season. Off to my left here now we have the Dersingham, Inglesthorpe and Snettisham bypass, which takes all the traffic away from the villages, so it makes for a nice quiet life for the people who live here now. But I quite enjoy trundling through these villages. It's always quite nice to just, you know, mooch along at a decent, very slow speed and just have a look around really. Coming now through the centre of Snettisham, very picturesque, sort of arty-farty sort of part of the village. And as we exit Snettisham we will be coming up to a roundabout where we'll rejoin the main road towards Heacham and then Hunstanton. Got a nice view of the poppy field there. That was a really vivid sight. Very misty here, it has to be said. Now we're coming into Heacham, and on the right here, past this garage, can't obviously see it in the mist unfortunately. Oh, you can just about catch a glimpse of it. Over there, the purpley flowers is this is the home of Norfolk lavender. Now, many of you can I can catch a smell of it at the moment as it stands. And their main buildings and visitor centre and so forth are just up here on the right. Very famous sort of part tourist attraction here in Heacham. My word, the smell is quite strong. There we can go. A bit mindful of the speed coming through here. There used to be a speed camera up here on the right, but that's been removed, but you know, just sort of have to be very mindful. We can get a bit of a move on. So we're now on the final sort of stretch of the journey to Hunstanton. coming up to the main roundabout into Hunstanton. You can either carry on at 1 o'clock and go round on the coast, or you can take a second exit here, and it takes you down towards the seafront here at Hunstanton. Hunstanton is a Victorian seaside town that was set up by the Lestrange family, who used to live and still do actually at Old Hunstanton. The town was built purely as a tourist seaside town, and still manages to keep, you know, its charm quite nicely. And it's also a huge meeting point for motorcyclists during the summer months. In fact, on any sort of day you can meet anybody at any time. It really is quite popular, and as we're all sort of all-weather bikers now and tend to get out as and when we can, you know, it's obviously quite easy to come to and meet up. I'm obviously hoping there won't be many people here right now. I've come out purposefully this morning early so that I can social distance easily but still get a nice look at the sea, although it's a bit misty so we may not be able to. I'm just going to take a left here, which will take us along the front and down onto the green where the motorcyclists park. So taking a left, the road then goes round to the right. Yep, and as I expected and hoped, there's not many people about. It looks as though Beck's is open with the coffee shop, so we may well be able to have a cup of tea, which will be great. So there we are, we've arrived here at Hunstanton. I hope you've enjoyed the journey. I shall be making a video returning home, but we'll be going home the sort of more traditional route via King's Lynn. But in the meantime, like I say, I hope you've enjoyed the trip here, and I'll see you again soon. So this is Shutters and Speed signing off for now.